Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're going to be doing another Samsung Galaxy S20 comparison, and this time we're going to be comparing it against a phone that is actually still able to be bought in a lot of places. You can still, I think, go to Best Buy and buy it, but you can also still go to the Apple Store and pick it up as well. And that phone is the iPhone XR, and obviously these phones are completely different demographics. Obviously, if you have all the money in the world, the Galaxy S20 is the overall better phone. You're getting much better features and different things like that. But also, I believe that the iPhone XR is the better value per dollar. You're getting more of a phone with less of a price with the iPhone XR than the Galaxy S20, if I'm being completely honest. Now, one doesn't really blow the other one out of the water, but of course the S20 is just such a dope phone and it just has so much going for it that's really hard to, say, oh, the iPhone XR is a better phone or this or that, but there's also some cool advantages for going to a XR over the Galaxy S20, which I'll get into in a second. But the first thing I want to hit on is the price point. So the Galaxy S20, as we all know, it costs about $1,000. It hasn't appreciated in price point yet, and I think as of today, it's available everywhere. I got mine a little early, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting to get it early because I ordered I think a week after the online availability was out, so pre-ordered, and I still got it, which is really cool. So that phone still is $1,000. It's probably going to depreciate here probably in like a month or two. But the iPhone XR, brand new, it costs $599, but also brand new from the Apple Store when it first came out, it cost $749, and that's a pretty big price drop for 1 year to the other. I mean, that's about like $150. So brand new, you can get it for about $599, but on Amazon you can get it for far less than that. You can pick it up for, I think, around $450 and somewhere around there. So if I were you, I would 100% recommend picking up an iPhone XR for that price tag. But like I said, you can get both for, brand new on Amazon or certified refurbished on Amazon too, and I would highly recommend that. So if you want to pick up either the iPhone XR or the Galaxy S20, I'll leave those linked down in the description to go to Amazon to buy it from there. So if you get them from there, you can get them for the price that I just said and help support the channel at the same time. But looking on the fronts of both phones, the iPhone XR has a 6.1-inch liquid retina IPS panel. It's 828 by 1792, and overall that panel wasn't bad. I think at first when it came out, we all, or at least when it was announced, we were all like, oh, it's not going to be a good panel, this and that. It's like 828 by 1792, whatever, it's not gonna be good. But really, it wasn't too bad, and I think since then they've gotten a little bit better. The True Tone technology has really helped out that panel quite a bit, and even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the newer panels have, or even an OLED panel, I still think it's held up pretty decently. You have a little bit of bezel around the display, a little bit more than like the 11 Pro Max, but you also have that notch up top, which some people like, some people don't like, some people don't even care. Me personally, I've gotten so used to it that I don't even think about it on an everyday basis. So my iPhone 11 Pro and my iPhone 10, I never really complain about it because it just blended in so seamlessly into the OS. I think iOS did a pretty decent job at, optimizing the screen display for that specific notch type. Whereas on some Android phones that I've had notches with, it like cuts off actual parts of the screen. So if I'm playing a game or something, like that part of the game will not be shown on that thing, where sometimes on the XR, that's definitely not the case. So that pretty much covers up the iPhone XR. Now with the Galaxy S20 though, we have a 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's 1440p by 3200. It has 563 pixels per inch, which is a crazy large panel with high pixels per inch and high resolution, and this panel for sure is one of my favorite things about this phone. It is such a strong looking panel. It is such a good look. I mean, I'm like falling in love with it the more I talk with it. You have a little bit of bezel on the top and bottom, which isn't that big of a deal, but you also have that hole punch display, which is now centered, which looks much nicer. I think with the one in the corner, it honestly, I kind of got used to it, but this one having it in the center is really cool, and I really do like that. So that's that, right? But you also have two cool things with the S20 that the XR doesn't have. You have that inbuilt fingerprint sensor on the display, so you can literally just rest your finger on a certain portion of the display and unlock the phone, which is really cool. But also on top of that, you have 120 Hz refresh rate on this display, which you don't have that on the iPhone XR, and you don't have that on a lot of other panels as well. And especially on an OLED display, you have that capability, which is really cool. So you can easily go and enable it in the settings. I have a video to show you how to do that too on my second channel. But this is honestly some really cool stuff, and this is the future of devices. So I literally cannot wait for this thing to be, in everybody's hands and you guys test it. But that 120 Hz refresh rate is seriously really awesome. On the bottom, you have USB Type-C on the S20, Lightning port on the XR, no headphone jacks on either of these phones. On the back, a single camera setup on the iPhone XR, which isn't, my favorite thing in the world, but a triple camera setup on the Galaxy S20. So obviously in the camera department, you're getting much more camera hardware features on the S20 over the XR. But really on the outside, that pretty much covers it. You have IP certification on both phones, but IP67 does water resistance on the 10R, but IP68 does some water resistance on the Galaxy S20. And you also have a microSD card slot on the Galaxy S20, where you don't have that on the iPhone XR, which is kind of sad, but in reality, that pretty much covers it up in terms of the outside. Now, hitting on the software, the Samsung Galaxy S20 was released with Android 10 on their One UI 2, which is really nice, and it's going to be getting One UI 3 and possibly One UI 4. Now, it could potentially get more versions on top of that, but we really don't know. It's kind of too early to tell, and honestly, if I had to say it, I don't think it's going to, which is going to be really sad. I really wish it did, but we really don't have any control over that, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But with iOS, you guys already know Apple's support is just so awesome, and it's one of the best things about owning an Apple phone overall. This thing started off with iOS 12. It's already on iOS 13.3.1, and actually mine's on 13.3 because mine's jailbroken. But this phone is going to be getting many more versions of software on top of it. It's going to be getting 14, 15, 16, and it probably, I don't know, it's probably going to go further. Who knows at that point? Apple's probably going to shift to something. It might get like an extra year of software updates or security updates. So this thing is going to be lasting for a long time. I'm pretty sure it's going to outlast the Galaxy S20 in terms of software updates. So that's going to be some super interesting stuff to see what that happens. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it. Now, hitting on the performance, both phones are pretty powerful for the most part. The iPhone XR has the Apple A12 Bionic chip, a hexa-core CPU, and there were 3 different models, a 64, 128, and 256 gig models, and all those models had 3 gigabytes of RAM. With the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 650 GPU. And there's only one model of the Galaxy S20, and that has 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now, what I can tell you about the performance of both phones is that both phones are actually pretty good performing phones, like I've stated before. And I did a speed test between them, and I saw that overall, like I stated before, the Galaxy S20 is the faster phone for sure. It's faster literally in every single thing I did with it. If I'm loading games, if I'm loading apps or whatever, it's just almost instantaneous, which is really, really nice. But I still kind of feel like my iPhone XR gives me a smoother experience. Like when I'm scrolling through things, or if I'm going through one thing through another, it kind of gives me the impression that it is a smoother device, which is really cool, especially for a phone that's older like that. So between both, of course the S20 is going to be the faster one. However, the XR is actually like a year and a half old. And if you look at a phone like the Galaxy S10 that came out last year, I recently compared those two against my S20, and literally the S10 was so glitchy and so, choppy. I was like, what the heck is going on? And I think that had a lot to do with just, the bogged down memory that it has had over time with One UI. And then eventually with the update with One UI 2, maybe it bogged it down even more. But the thing is that when I got my S10 last year, I was pretty much saying the same things as I'm saying for my S20 now. I'm like, it's a fast phone. It's probably the fastest phone on the market. It's very smooth. It's not. So I'm curious to see if the S20 is going to slow down quite a bit like they did with the S10. And honestly, with every single phone that I've had, it's pretty much been the case. It's pretty much been, it's slowing down over time, especially if it's a Samsung phone. With my iPhones, they've been able to handle it pretty well over time. So in terms of performance, the S20 is the faster, smoother one now, but I'm curious to see how they hold up a year later. So that pretty much covers it up in the performance standpoint. Now, hitting on the cameras, the iPhone XR has a single 12 megapixel sensor, while the Galaxy S20 has 3 cameras, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, a 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and then another 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. And the cameras on these things are very good. The XR still has a pretty good camera setup, but definitely, you can do 4K at 60 frames on both, but definitely the Samsung Galaxy S20 is just a better camera sensor. You have not only, I think, better quality photos and videos, but you also have the ability to use that telephoto lens or the ultra wide sensor. And in 2020 and going forward, all these phones are going to have multiple camera sensors. So if you have something like a XR, you're going to kind of feel outdated. You can also shoot 8K videos on the Samsung Galaxy S20, where you cannot do that on the iPhone XR, which is pretty insane. So that's some really cool features and capability that we have on the Samsung Galaxy S20 that we don't have on the iPhone XR. On the front camera, we can do 4K at 60 on the Samsung Galaxy S20, but only 1080p at 60 on the iPhone XR. So not a crazy thing, not like a life-changing thing, but that is definitely some cool little features that we have on the S20 over the XR, and definitely the S20 is going to have a better camera sensor, and I'm going to do a dedicated camera test between these two phones at some point, so this one was kind of rushed, but I'll go ahead and do one at some point. Now, ending it off with a battery life, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 4,000 mAh battery, the iPhone XR has a 2,942 mAh battery, and if I'm being completely honest, I do think that the Galaxy S20 has the better battery life. However, there's one caveat to that, that if you turn on the 120Hz refresh rate on the Galaxy S20, you will find that your battery life might actually go down quite a bit faster, and that's just because it has more screens of basically power. Whereas on the iPhone XR, we don't have that capability, and it's also a pretty low resolution panel. So if you have that off, the S20 might have the better battery life by a little bit, but the iPhone XR, if you have it on, will definitely beat the Galaxy S20 if that's the case. But if you have it off on the Galaxy S20, that will actually give you better battery life, which is really, really nice. So to kind of sum up the video and to answer this comparison, should you pick up a Galaxy S20? Should you sell your XR to get the S20? Should you whatever? Like I've been saying with all the other phones, the S20 is pretty much the best phone in the market right now for a lot of people. It's the one that's almost publicly available to a ton of people out there. And if I were you, I mean, if you have all the money, the S20 is the way to go. But also at the same time, like if you're trying to save your money, if you're trying to get a better value per dollar, or if you own an iPhone XR, I would recommend getting an iPhone XR or keeping your iPhone XR at least for like a couple more months, because the Galaxy S20 prices are going to depreciate probably a lot. If the S10 prices, follows the S10 pricing structure, they're probably going to depreciate quite a bit faster. And the iPhone XR, is still a great phone and has a lot going for it, but I do think the S20 is a better phone. So if you wait out a couple months, you're going to see more depreciation from an S20 than you're going to see on a XR. So like I said, if you want to pick either of these phones up, links will be down in the description. But that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I really appreciate if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.